Where do things stand now? This is so unusual. You and I have covered the White House for years. I can't even fathom anything like this having been found before in the West Wing, and I go back to the 70s at the White House. So this is pretty wild.
It's absolutely extraordinary, Andrea.
Oh, yeah, so extraordinary. They're talking about cocaine at the White House. It's not that extraordinary. A crack addict lives there. Sorry. And it's not new. Oh, by the way, the White House. The White House. Does White House and cocaine go together? White House? Well, no, of course not. But there have been drugs at the White House many, many times. Who remembers Willie Nelson bragging about smoking weed on the roof? Yes, he did. Who remembers the chief of staff to, I think, Jimmy Carter? His name was Hamilton Jordan, and he got in big trouble for allegedly snorting coke at Studio 54, a very hot disco back in the day. Barack Obama, the first president we ever had who admitted to using cocaine as a young man, and that brings us to Hunter Biden. All right, so Hunter did say in his own book, let's take a look at it, that he had some sort of mystical power to find. I use my superpower, finding crack anytime, anywhere. I had the ability to find crack in any town at any time, no matter how unfamiliar the terrain. Now, unfortunately, this is not that long ago for Hunter. And I don't believe the White House is any place for a guy like this. Probably was his cocaine. We may never know for sure. But some people noticed at the 4th of July celebration that he seemed to be, agitated, shall we say. He's kind of sweaty and a little bit manic. And then there was this maneuver. Some people familiar with the cocaine, trade or the habits thereof, thought they saw him possibly consuming a little bit of whatever. Now, we don't know. Maybe he is just brushing his hair. But he had a long-time problem, and we have every reason, quite frankly, look, I hope he's over this stuff. But they'll tell you that relapsing is sometimes part of recovery. Joe doesn't seem to understand that. He thinks, it's one and done. You fix it for life. It's not that way.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it. And I'm proud of him.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily work that way. I hope it does, but relapse and you fixed it, one and done. I hope so, but I know this, putting Hunter in the limelight like he is, like you've put him in, Joe, it's not good for Hunter. No matter what, whether he has a substance addiction issue or not, he shouldn't be hanging around. Everybody knows this is not appropriate for somebody his age either. He's acting like he's some sort of rock star, like he got elected to something. How about in Ireland? He's acted like he was the Prince of Wales, meeting people, signing autographs. Again, in my opinion, this is not good for Hunter. And I've read over the years that the children of presidents, even when they're not dealing with a drug addiction, well, there are some unique stressors, right? The Ford children talked about that. You're in the White House, you're in the center of the universe, and then one day you're not. Bill Clinton, her name, what was her name again? Chelsea. I don't know, but I imagine she had some ups and downs. I know this, Curtis Roosevelt, the grandson of FDR, wrote a book about this. He was a very young kid, a grandson of the presidents, and he hung around the White House all the time. He wrote a book about this, growing up in the White House and what it could do to you. Too close to the sun, growing up in the shadow of Franklin and Eleanor. Remember, Prometheus got too close to the sun? Let's go to the first quote here. I can still clearly recall my grandmother's meaningful glances when I became too enthralled with some White House ceremony. Such attention was for the president, I was reminded. Let's see. Intoxicated by the exhilarating environments of Washington and Hyde Park, I created a dream world that protected me and became a form of addiction. I found it easier to inhabit this fantasy world than to develop and nurture my own strengths and talents in the real one. Wow. Kind of makes sense, right? Everyone's waiting on you hand and foot, and, maybe Hunter can't be saved, but maybe his child, Beau, can, the president's 7th grandchild. All right, now this. I had a couple of days off, and it was marvelous. And the whole week actually feels kind of like that week between Christmas and New Year's. Remember, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are on vacation right now. And some of the things I've been doing, hanging around with my daughter and my wife. Here she is in a puddle. You know, when you're one, a puddle can be greater than the best roller coaster in the world. So that was great. Let's see. My wife and I went to a party. That was very, very elegant. Both of us, I think. I saw Sound of Freedom, a very important film that you should see. I'll have more on that in the next block. I also read a book called Digital Minimalism, how to basically get away from all these apps and devices that are taking over our lives. I'm not quite done with it, and it's very intriguing. I like this stuff a lot. I barely followed the news, barely. Glanced at it every now and then. I did hear about that horrible shooting in Philadelphia. 5 people were killed, 2 little babies injured. Now, there is a suspect in custody, Kimbrati Carricker. I read that this individual is a Black Lives Matter activist, or at least sympathizer, and, well, is non-binary and likes to dress up in women's clothes. All right, all over the place. And again, I just glanced at the news over the weekend. Glanced at it, barely. So I was back to work today, and I got to follow the fake news, see what they're saying. Wow, they really do live in a different reality.
So, George Sleece, what have we learned from this morning's arraignment, if anything, about the suspect? We knew very little about him, except that he was armed and wearing battle gear.
That's what really got my attention. Wait a second, we know very little about him. I know he likes to wear bras. I know what he was posting on Facebook about white people and Black Lives Matter. I mean, I was in the bathtub when I found that out. She is in MSNBC World News headquarters. Surely the reporter knows what's going on, right? Wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Andrea. The suspect appearing in court via closed-circuit television for the first time. We got a good look at him. Authorities just releasing the name Kimbrati Carricker along with a mugshot.
Okay, where's the mugshot? You're going to show us the mugshot, right?
And you're right. We didn't know a whole lot about this suspect other than what police had said, that this individual was wearing a ski mask with a tactical vest, had an AR-style rifle, a handgun, and seemingly targeted people at random in this Southwest Philadelphia neighborhood, killing 5. That now part of the charges. This suspect faces 11 total offenses with multiple counts in each, everything ranging from those murder charges to aggravated assault to carrying weapons without a permit.
Without a permit. They're going to get him without having a permit. Wow. You see how they're kind of rushing through all this. Why are they doing it? He actually said the suspect's name, like that. What's happening here? Next, please.
Jim, do we know anything about a motive? Did he have any connection to this neighborhood? Excuse me, I'm not George. George, rather. Yeah.
Right, Andrea. We are starting to get a better picture of where this suspect resided. It appears that the suspect did live in this neighborhood. So we're going to have to learn a little bit more, dig a little bit more through the social media to see if there were any clues or indications. Authorities yesterday saying this attack did appear to be premeditated, considering the police scanner, the tactical gear, and the weapons that were used. But they still have no motive. They will be out there, again, asking anyone with information to come forward to provide some context as to why this shooting may have occurred, Andrea.
Thank you so much, George Solis, and Jim Kavanaugh, to you now.
I almost felt like calling the police myself. If you guys are really this stumped, I mean, I just watched the news. Apparently, you don't know anything, according to MSNBC. This was this morning. May I tell you again? I'm sorry, but the picture, the motivation, the issues with gender. Sorry, but it's part of the story. Was it the driving factor? I guess we don't know yet, but I think it's relevant. New York Post was able to write all this stuff up. Why can't you guys? Why wouldn't you? I'll tell you, because what do they like over there at MSNBC and the fake news in general? Narrative. Narrative. You always hear them talking about narrative, right? What is a narrative? A way of presenting or understanding a situation or series of events that reflects and promotes a particular point of view or set of values. Wow, they love narrative. They're always talking about narrative. And what are the set of values? What's the point of view they're trying to promote? The preferred narrative? Okay, this is it right here. Everything has got to be presented in a way that hurts Trump and helps and protects Joe Biden. So when you have a maniac on the loose in Philadelphia who killed children allegedly and adults and is a cross-dresser and is a Black Lives Matter activist, oh boy, you have to minimize all that. You have to put that away because Donald Trump has been kind of warning us about some of that stuff. Makes sense? Makes sense, actually, it does. This also makes sense. There was bad news for the Biden administration on Friday. And it came out on Friday for a reason, to minimize the bad news. It was an after-action report about our catastrophic loss in Afghanistan, a report put out by the State Department a year and a half in the making, and, well, they got away with it. On a Friday, barely anybody noticed it, and barely anybody could comment on Joe Biden's totally bizarre, totally inappropriate reaction when asked about the horrible mistakes made by his administration.
Mr. President, do you admit failure in Afghanistan? Mistakes. There was a report on Afghanistan withdrawal saying there was failure, mistakes. Do you admit there was mistakes during the withdrawal and before?
No, all the evidence is coming back there. Remember what I said about Afghanistan? I said Al-Qaeda would not be there. I said it wouldn't be there. I said we'd get help from the Taliban. What's happening now? What's going on? Read your press. I was right. Thanks.
One of the strangest things ever uttered by a president. I was right. He was wrong every step of the way about everything, and the Taliban are now running Afghanistan, and Al-Qaeda is thriving. So on my show, I did 8 minutes of this on Friday. It could not be ignored, at least by me. A good chunk of the dominant establishment media, however, chose to blow it off. Nothing to see here. I was pretty amazed at one of the Sunday shows also, because, well, they've been focusing on international affairs more than others, and no mention whatsoever of the State Department report that totally destroys the leadership of Anthony Blinken. And these people, I mean, again, they pride themselves on being, it's world news tonight over there, right? We cover the world, and they got a war correspondent.
I was there 6 times. I do know I was there 6 times in 2010. So pretty much every other month I would go over to Afghanistan.
You've been to Iraq, what, 20 times?
I think probably it's, I was thinking about that last night. I think it's probably closer to 30. I definitely lost track.
You go everywhere, and you're getting ready to go where again?
I'm getting ready to go back into the war zone, into Iraq.
How many times have you gone in?
Dozens.
That's
dozens.
yeah.
All right, good for her. Dozens of trips, usually pretty, she's not going there for a month, all right? Anyway, this Sunday, where is she? She's somewhere else, and Ukraine. The big after-action report comes out about Afghanistan, that place she told us she went 30 times. Why no follow-up? Why no follow-up? We lost a war 20 years later. Aren't you remotely curious about all the mistakes that Joe Biden made? No, they aren't. Now, by the way, sometimes they'll say, well, you ignore the bad news stories about Trump. That's actually not true. Granted, I am a partisan. I'm kind of supporting Trump. I like him. I'm very conspicuous about that. Do you remember Mary Trump, the niece of Donald Trump, who came out with that very nasty book about her uncle? All kinds of lies in it. Well, I didn't ignore it. I read the book, and then I debunked it, all right? I did 2 nights, 3 nights in a row. So I don't ignore bad news. I confront it, all right? I do. And they just pretend it didn't happen. Got to go back to Philadelphia for a moment. They had this crazy, totally woke DA by the name of Larry Krasner. He's completely pro-criminal, anti-cop, a very strange guy, and a total and complete liar. I mean, here's proof. Every time there's a shooting, he just says it's MAGA's fault. It's Trump's fault. He's that simplistic and that biased.
There is absolutely no correlation between being progressive or traditional and the rate of crime. These states in the United States that have a rate of homicide that is 40% higher are MAGA states. They are Trump states. I'll say it again. The rate of homicide in Trump states as compared to Biden states, take all 50 of them, is 40%
You know,
higher.
Republicans say the opposite. It's all the blue
Republicans
cities that have it.
lie. I mean, let's just get down to it. Republicans lie. That is what they do. 8 of
Not
the
all
10 cities with
Republicans lie.
well, okay, that's right. Not all of them do, but the MAGA ones do. 8 out of 10 of the most violent cities are Trump cities. Like, we got to get real about this. Facts matter.
Trump cities. There's almost no such thing as a Trump city. These are all. Let me do the state thing first, all right? So, for instance, he'll say that, well, I guess when he said this, Michigan was a red state, but Detroit is a blue city. See what I mean? Okay? Yeah, totally. It goes like this across the board. All these violent cities. Tennessee, that's a red state. And Memphis is definitely a blue county. It goes on and on like this. St. Louis, Kansas City, all right, red, but look at them. They're blue in a sea of red. Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, you get it, right? You see what's happening here. And then you can look at the cities in general. He said MAGA cities. There are no MAGA cities. I looked it up. All these cities were won actually by the Democrat, and they're all Democrat mayors, all right? Every single one of these things. One is considered a nonpartisan thing. So, wow. And Larry Krasner is fighting crime. I don't think he's capable of that. He's not even capable of telling the truth. We'll be right back.